for the hand jobs. Mornings with Mo.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mo from Mo in the Deep End, and this is Mornings with Mo. Good morning, everyone. We have lots of shenanigans, lots of news, and some true crime. And of course, we always have new contestants that need to meet Lord Chippy, as always. Good morning, Wolfram. Thank you for all of your Modly Mod duties. Christine, good morning. And Squid Pro Quo, good morning. So, our first story is that, well, found, on road dead, well, apparently does work underwater. So a mysterious Ford has been found in the hangar of of USS Yorktown's shipwreck that sank in World War II. So how did this current Ford, end up, well, dead on dead underwater, I guess, is how you'd go. Good morning, Morak, 101, Audio Coffee, and Fedorowski. I mean, it's a mystery. A crew exploring the USS Yorktown shipwreck made an unexpected discovery when they located a mysterious Ford automobile among the wreckage this weekend. Now, the faint outline of the suspected, oh, well, okay, it's not current. My bad. I'm not a carologist. Uh, the faint outline of a suspected 1940 to 41 black Ford Super Deluxe Woody was found Saturday by the remotely operated vehicle in the hangar deck of the historic World War II aircraft carrier that sank during the Battle of Midway in 1942, according to NOAA's Oceanic Exploration Unit. So interesting. Now, further exploration the following day showed the car was upright with a part of its license plate reading Ship Service Navy, and the windshield was still intact, all about 3 miles below the surface. It's a car. That's a car, a researcher was heard saying on the live stream of the expedition, the Miami Herald reported. That is a full car. Why is there a car on this boat? One researcher asked. NOAA officials believe that the car might have been used by Rear Admiral Jake Fletcher, Captain Elliot Buckmaster, or other crew members while the USS Yorktown was docked at foreign ports. Interesting. It's good to be the admiral, even if you are a rear admiral, which is probably not as fun or funner, depending. I don't know. You choose. Now, the researchers questioned why the vehicle was left on the vessel as the crew desperately hurtled heavy machinery off the sinking ship to lower its load after it was struck by a Japanese torpedo. Now, Yorktown's salvage crew worked tirelessly to jettison anti-aircraft guns and aircrafts into the sea to reduce its list after the torpedo strike, but they left this car, something they could roll off the side, NOAA officials said in an email to the Herald. Perhaps the car belonged to someone important on the ship or the fleet, maybe the captain or the admiral. But there are also questions about why the car remained on the ship after it briefly stopped off at Pearl Harbor for a 48-hour repair ahead of the planned battle, officials said. Well, as a person who flunked out of basic, I can tell you that even though the Army and the military is supposed to run on logic, sometimes it just don't. It just don't. Like, sometimes it just don't make sense. So, I mean, you think something that's a well-oiled, functional bureaucratic machine would be, on top of things, but sometimes mistakes happen in the military. I know you're shockest. Take a deep breath, count to 10, it will all be okay. But yeah, no idea why this car was left on. The USS Yorktown was commissioned in 1937 and took part in several World War II missions in the Pacific before it went down following the attack by the Japanese torpedo. The massive shipwreck was discovered upright and intact in May 1988 in a joint effort by the U.S. Navy and the National Geographic Society. So there you go. Well, if you are on the East Coast and more particularly New Jersey, I hope that you are taking precautions and listening to all the news that is coming out about these wildfires. A New Jersey wildfire is prompting evacuation orders for thousands as it explodes in size and closes part of Garden State Parkway. So If you are on the East Coast, close to New Jersey, or live there, please listen to all of the very smart government people after I just got done making fun of the government. Sometimes they know what they're doing. Anywho, just, be careful. A raging wildfire broke out across 8,500 acres in New Jersey on Tuesday and has forced thousands of residents to evacuate their homes, shuttering a large stretch of the state's busiest highway. Now, firefighters were battling the Jones Road wildfire, which had burnt more than 13 square miles through the night after it broke out at about 11 a.m. in Lacey and Ocean townships in Ocean County, utilizing fire engines, bulldozers, air support, and ground crews, according to the New Jersey Forest Fire Service. Now, despite that massive response, the blaze, roared on and has just been about 10% contained as of 10:46 p.m. Roughly 3,000 residents have been put under evacuation orders. That means about 1,320 homes and buildings are threatened by the encroaching sparks and, fire. Look, it's fire. It's hot. Get out of the way. I don't know what else to tell y'all. And you can even see it in space, which is great. Now, emergency shelters are organizing for those that are forced to flee their homes in areas near portions of routes 532, 539, 72, and 9, officials have said. Road closures are in effect Tuesday night all throughout the county, including for 17 miles of the Garden State Parkway, Route 9, Route 532, Lakeside Drive, Jones Road, Bryant Road, Route 72, according to the state's forestry, agency. So again, just stay away from the hot stuff. We learned it in Look Who's Talking To. Hot stuff is bad. We stay away from it. Now, about 25,000 homes and businesses are without power as the New Jersey Central Power and Light cut off electricity to the area to protect responding firefighters. Safety is our top priority. All restoration timing will be determined by the safety of firefighters, our crews, and the public. We appreciate your patience and understanding during this time, the company did say in a statement. And I mean, these look apocalyptic. Again, I hope everyone is safe. I hope no one loses their home or their life to this. I think after California, I think we all realized just how devastating these wildfires can be. Now, photos have been popping up all over social media showing flames ripping through wooded areas along the New Jersey highway, with dark smoke blotting out the sky on an otherwise beautiful day. Drought levels in Ocean County are abnormally dry to moderately dry, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. There are no known injuries as of right now as a result of the fire. So hopefully, they can get it more contained. They have a coordinated effort, and hopefully everyone stays safe. And thank you for the firefighters and first responders. You guys run in there and you take care of stuff that makes the rest of us, sleep safely in our house. So thank you so much. Well, and in terribly sad news, because again, Lord, you have taken Betty White from us. You have taken all the Golden Girls from us. And yet Kevin Spacey still lives. So you cannot have Carlos Santana. Look, all of us my recovering Catholic behind will go into a Catholic church and light a candle for Carlos Santana. Although, as a music nerd, my favorite Carlos Santana moment is when Lauryn Hill, we remember the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, the Grammys that year, she did her song Zion, and Carlos Santana was playing this beautiful, soulful guitar solo, and Rosie O'Donnell introduced Lauryn Hill, and she's like, "Yeah, with that guy who plays guitar." Like, she completely forgot Carlos Santana when she was introducing Lauryn Hill. But yeah, he did play guitar for that really good version of Zion. Thank you for indulging me in this detour of Mo's musical nerd knowledge. That being said, Carlos Santana is in the hospital suffering from a medical emergency as he was preparing for a, Texas concert. Now, Imma light a candle for him because we need good, guitar players. We need excellent guitar players. And look, I can't take you already took Betty White from us. You took all the Golden Girls, God. I need you to keep Carlos Santana right now. Well, Carlos Santana was hospitalized after suffering a medical emergency as he prepped for a concert in Texas on Tuesday, the Post can confirm. The 77-year-old icon's manager, Michael Verones, told the Post that Mr. Santana was at the Majestic Theater in San Antonio, Texas, preparing for tonight's show when he experienced an event that was determined to be dehydration. Now, Verones has added that out of an abundance of caution and for the health of Mr. Santana, sorry, the decision to postpone the show was the most prudent course of action. He is doing well and looking forward to coming back to San Antonio as well as continuing his U.S. tour. Thank you so much for your understanding, and the show will be rescheduled soon. Now, TMZ was the first to report the news that Santana had suffered a quote-unquote medical emergency. Eyewitnesses told the unit that the incident happened during a sound check and the musician was taken out on a gurney before taken to an ambulance. Now, Santana arrived in Texas after braving cold and rainy conditions for his concert in Albuquerque, New Mexico on Monday night. Just hours before being hospitalized, he posted on Facebook thanking his fans for showing up with such beautiful energy and love in the cold and rain. I love, artists and very influential people who are still humble and kind and thank their fans. So he's a good one. You, excuse me. You sang, you danced, you braved the elements like true warriors of light, he wrote. Your warmth and passion lit up the night more than any spotlight ever could. It was truly an honor to share our hearts and music with you. Now, Santana is currently scheduled to perform on Wednesday in Sugar Land, Texas, and Friday in Thackerville, Oklahoma, as part of his Oneness tour. So there you go. Hopefully he will be fine, and, we can all have this. Yeah, yeah. I'm waiting to see if their second witness is gonna be as terrible for the state as their first one is. I don't know. Karen Reed is a tortured, tangled tale of t of in and of itself. Carlos Santana should write a song. That being said, I hope he's doing great and, gets back to doing what he loves, and it seems like he loves doing, playing his guitar. In an update to a story I think I brought you either last week or the week before, the parents of the toddler who walked in Arizona wilderness and was led to safety by, the bestest dog ever, call it a miracle. So I did want to post this because it is nice to know that the parents are showing gratitude and, being humble and kind, after the dog saved their child. The parents of a 2-year-old boy who spent the night alone in Arizona wilderness area and was led to safety by a local rancher's dog are calling the ordeal a miracle. Bowden Allen disappeared from his home in the Segelman around 5 p.m. Monday. His father, Corey Allen, was working on the home's roof, while his mother, Sarah Allen, was caring for their 1-year-old. NBC affiliate KPNX reported. Now, Sarah said she heard her older child walk out of the home, but that when she called for him, he didn't answer, which triggered a panic. Which, yeah, it does. It started and it was getting more intense with every minute, Corey said about the search for his son. The couple called family members for help and eventually contacted the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, kicking off a search effort comprising of more than 40 rescuers and the Department of Safety helicopter that spotted 2 mountain lions in the area. But as the sun set, there was still no sign of Bowden. I didn't even know how to process it, Sarah told the outlet. I looked at his empty bed in the middle of the night, and I was like, this isn't real. He's not, how is he not here? How is he out by himself somewhere in the dark? Now, rancher Scotty Dunton said around 16 hours later, he found Bowden on his land after his dog Buford led him there. Dunton's property is about 7 miles away from the toddler's home. Dutton said that Buford, an Anatolian Pyrenees, found Bowden sleeping under a tree. He was found with just a few scratches on his head. I feel like that God sent that dog to rescue my son, Corey told the outlet. Uh, and thank you so much, Kay, for gifting a membership. And that went to Wendy Joe. Thank you so much. And welcome to the Church of Mo. We have dark chocolate, sarcasm, and true crime. It's the, triangle of perfection that all women of a certain vintage love. My husband is like, "Do all women love true crime or is it just the crazy ones?" And I was like, "No, it's just the ones that realize we'd much rather watch other people get caught." Thank you so much. Oddly, that didn't, make him feel any safer. But there's Buford, the goodest boy ever, the bestest boy ever. Sarah called the ordeal a miracle. It's unreal and unbelievable. But I am glad that the parents, found their little boy after so many stories here lately. And if you're in the true crime genre, it seems like every time a child goes missing, we we come to the heartbreaking realization here lately that it's going to be foul play and it's going to be part of the true crime, just galaxy of parents who shouldn't. That being said, gird your earloins because we have a cavalcade of miscreants and misbegotten, people that need to meet Lord Chippy. So gird your earloins if you are wearing earbuds because Lord Chippy comes in hot and he comes in heavy. Well, this lovely lady in a turtle suit, this woman who doesn't at all remind me of oh gosh, what is her name? Anne something or other from Throw Mama from the Train. Absolutely in no way does she resemble possibly anyone from, Texas Chainsaw Massacre or People with Eye or The Hills Have Eyes. I mean, if I make that as Anne Ramsey, thank you, John Gary. In no way does she remind me of her. Uh, Intent to unalive. A 19-year-old stabbed both of her parents after her dad wished her a happy resurrection day. Well, sweetie, come here a little closer. Okay, not that close. I don't think they give you deodorant with a turtle suit. Sweetie, open your ear hole. Jesus might be the only one on your side now. I wouldn't ignore him. But that being said, I mean, you choose you. I mean, I don't know. A Washington teen told her parents that she didn't believe in God, which apparently spurred on an argument that allegedly ended in both parents losing their lives. McKenzie Hafer, oh dear Lord. Okay, now I know why she has such rage. I mean, ma'am, as a woman who has dealt with semi-fluffiness, I get it. And your last name is nearly Heifer. Look, I went through middle school. I understand it. You probably got the ever living tar made fun of out of you. But again, life lesson number one is that whatever you have endured, whatever crap you carry, whatever trauma you have, does not give you the right to unload it on other people. Yep. We all get handed rough crap cards once in a while in life. But the true test of a person is whether we take that trap and dump it on someone else to make it their crap. You don't. You don't. That's what you do. So McKenzie Hayer, 19, was charged with 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder after an alleged attack that took place on Easter Sunday, April 20th. Now, according to police reports obtained by KATU, a local ABC affiliate, McKenzie Hayer's father, Benjamin Hayer, wished his daughter a, quote, happy resurrection day, end quote, to which she responded by saying she didn't believe in God. Now, the two reportedly had a verbal argument, then went into separate rooms of the house. Now, when McKenzie Hafer's mother, Erin Hetzler, confronted her daughter about the comment, they reportedly also had a verbal argument of their own, which escalated. Even though Mackenzie Hafer wished her father a happy resurrection day in return, according to local CBS affiliate KOIN's reporting on the court documents, Hetzler pressed her daughter about the exchange. This, according to documents, is where the violence started to get, well, violence. That's where when, like maybe today Satan became like, hell yeah, today Satan. Now, Mackenzie Hafer was reportedly cooking in the kitchen when her mother came in to again ask her about the argument with her father. Now, while details of their ensuing argument are a bit unclear, documents do report that the verbal argument turned physical when Mackenzie Hafer reportedly got so heated that she threw her phone to the floor. Now, Benjamin Hafer, the father, had entered the room and asked what happened to the phone. Now, according to the police report, Mackenzie then grabbed a kitchen knife and allegedly perforated her father in the stomach with intent to unalive him. Then she turned the same knife to her mother and allegedly stabbed her in the throat, again with the intent to kill her. Now, Dakota Hafer, Mackenzie's brother, was also in the house at the time, but not part of any of the shenanigans going on. When Mackenzie was questioned by police, her account of the alleged attack was consistent with the injuries that her parents had sustained. Now, both parents are expected to survive, the attack. Mackenzie Hafer was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder in the second degree and taken into custody on $500,000 bail. Her next court appearance is scheduled for May the 5th. Well, I mean, who are you going to turn to for bail money? Sweetie, you got to think these things through. And don't crime and don't stab your parents. I didn't think these were like, public service announcements, but don't crime, don't stab your parents. I mean, I didn't know we were going to have to break it down. Now, this absolute piece of corroded human, garbage water is learning his fate after unaliving a paramedic and, a cop, as you do apparently on a Tuesday. A man described as a cold-blooded killer from South Carolina who is accused of forcing a paramedic to wear a dog shock collar. Look, Lord Chippy attendants, I don't know if Lord Chippy's going to need a deep clean after this, but ew. Like, we might settle for the sun. Before walking her in the woods to, unalive her execution style, as well as the murder of a New Mexico police officer whom he allegedly shot while on the run. He has learned his fate for the cop slaying. Jeremy Smith, 33, was sentenced to life in prison on Monday with no possibility for parole on his federal cop killing case, according to court records. He was handed down the punishment after entering a guilty plea in January to the murder of New Mexico State police officer Justin Hare, who had stopped to help Smith with a flat tire he got while driving on Interstate 40 in March 2024. So this first responder, this cop, was just going over to help a citizen. He thought, flat tire, I'm going to help a guy out. Going to help him out. Now, Smith had been driving the vehicle of South Carolina paramedic Phoenicia Machado IV, who was 54 and reported as a missing person by the Marion County Sheriff's Office in the Palmetto State on March 14th, 2024. Smith, who is still facing charges in the Machado IV case, was accused of going on a cross-country crime rampage after her death, traveling from South Carolina to Texas to New Mexico, where he unfortunately killed Officer Hare. Now, Smith's sentencing memorandum outlines allegations against him, including how he allegedly murdered the officer and kidnapped Machado IV, who was found dead on March 15, 2024, after allegedly swiping some force multipliers from her home. Smith is said to have taken Machado IV hostage in a BMW that she owned following the theft and drove her out into a wooded area about a half a mile away before unfortunately taking her life. He later gunned down Hare after the cops stopped to help him with a flat tire. In a shocking act of violent depravity, Smith, while under the cover of darkness, murdered a New Mexico State police officer on a stretch of Interstate 40 just outside of Tucumcari, New Mexico, the sentencing memo says. Smith fired 3 shots into Officer John Doe's head and neck to avoid arrest on an equally brutal murder that he committed in South Carolina just 2 days beforehand. Now, police found Machado Fore's remains on the same day that Smith gunned down Hayer, the memo said, noting the chilling details of the grim discovery. She had been shot in the back of the head once, execution style, while still wearing her pajamas and house slippers, the memo states. She had cut zip ties next to her arms, and her wrists showed telltale signs that she had been bound. She had 2 blood-soaked bandanas tied around her eyes and plastic packing tape over her mouth and jaw. In a twisting and shocking and just gross part of this case, she also had a dog shock collar secured around her neck, according to WBTW. There is no place in our society for cold-blooded killers, which is exactly what he is. New Mexico State Police Chief Troy Whistler told WBTW in February, a ruthless murderer who took the lives of 2 of the country's finest servants. Now, after the armed robbery and the murder of Machado Fore, an unnamed associate met up with Smith and they drove from South Carolina to Texas with an acquaintance, later telling police about it, according to local law enforcement. Authorities allege Smith and his friend and the friend he was with committed another armed robbery while driving in Atlanta and then eventually Texas. The associate chose to stay in the Lone Star State while Smith continued to New Mexico, where he encountered Officer Hayer and shot him with his handgun. Now, Smith's plea agreement, which was filed on January 17th and viewed by Law and Crime, detailed what happened in Smith's own words. I explained to Officer Hayer that I had a flat tire, and Officer Hayer offered to drive me to the nearest town, he said. At that point, while I was still standing at the passenger window of the police cruiser, I shot Officer Hayer once in the head with my firearm. I walked from the passenger side window of Officer Hayer's police cruiser around to the front of the car to the driver's side window and shot him an additional 2 times. I fired all 3 shots with the intent to cause death or serious bodily injury. Now, after shooting Hayer, Smith told investigators that he got into the cop's squad car and began driving intentionally with emergency lights still flashing. Officer Hayer was still in the vehicle when I drove off, and my purpose for driving the police cruiser from the scene was to facilitate my escape. With Officer Hayer still inside the police cruiser, I drove for approximately 4 minutes and 24 seconds on U.S. Interstate 40 before exiting on a frontage road, he admitted. I drove for less than 1 minute on the frontage road before stopping the police cruiser at a remote location. Now, after stopping that vehicle, I removed Officer Hayer from the police cruiser and left him lying face up on the road, then re-entered the police cruiser and drove from the scene. Now, for Hayer's death, Smith pled guilty to 5 counts, including carjacking resulting in death, using and carrying a firearm during a crime of violence, and kidnapping resulting in death. And he had also been locked away at the penitentiary of New Mexico in Santa Fe County while he was awaiting sentencing. So, yeah, I mean, he's still going to have charges. I don't know if South Carolina has the, old shuffle them off with, either Lord Sticky or Lord Sparky, but I'm guessing that making a woman wear a dog collar and, unaliving her execution style might get you the old, shuffle ye off the mortal coil sort of punishment. That being said. And whatever amalgamation of missed Darwin Awards this is, I have no idea. Also, allegedly in Minecraft, but Ian Crossland from Timcast, is that you? What I have is scary. A man with an acid shooting gun had plans to defeat the government without firing a single shot. Well, I mean, any man that posts his homemade, weapons, I'm sure. Again, if you're gonna destroy the government, maybe don't tell the government who have an in on all social medias by posting it. I could be wrong. I'm not a master, crazy person. Okay, Wisconsin, come to the front and center of the congregation. What is up with you? Do we officially name Wisconsin the Florida of the Midwest? I might have to make a poll on that. Is it going to be Michigan or is it going to be Wisconsin? And I am fully aware that Indiana has its share of cray-cray cases. That being said, I still vote Wisconsin. A Wisconsin man has pled guilty to possessing several components that could have been made into chemical weapons just months after being sentenced for having destructive devices. It's almost like he didn't learn. James Morgan, 31, entered his plea in the Eastern District of Wisconsin after facing federal charges of possession of chemical weapon precursors not intended for peaceful purposes. I mean, is there a peaceful explosion device? I mean, I would guess a glitter bomb, but I mean, that's glitter and that's violence, if you ask me. There you go. Who knows? In a press release, acting U.S. District Attorney Richard G. Frohnling announced the plea deal, which carries a sentence of up to life in prison, among other penalties. Now, Morgan did admit to keeping a cache of chemicals and other paraphernalia in a storage unit that was searched by the FBI in December of 2023 after they obtained a warrant. And what they found, by Morgan's own admission, was quote unquote scary. Well, let's see what this man had. In the plea agreement, Morgan, who also used the online moniker Caractacus Blom, do not make yourself sound like a character straight out of damn Lemony Snicket, these series of unfortunate events. If you are going to be a real life cartoon character, what is going on here? I mean, not entirely unexpected in the year of our shenanigans, 2025, but still, he's setting a high benchmark for crazy. So, Caractacus Bloom admitted to possessing what are called chemical weapon precursors, which can be combined to make dangerous chemical weapons. In this case, FBI agents found bottles of calcium hypochloride and hydrochloric acid, which can be combined to form chlorine gas. Now, Morgan, according to court documents, maintained a presence on various social media accounts in which he demonstrated his prowess and passion for chemistry, as well as his anti-government beliefs. He could have been the next Bill Nye if only he wasn't, well, the anti-government guy. In messages cited in court documents, Morgan said, quote, even which no MG42, apparently that is a machine force multiplier, no, or I don't have one right now. What I have is scary, and I don't just mean force multipliers. He added, I have two chemicals, two totally legal, chemicals, calcium hypochloride and hypochloric acid, or hydrochloric acid, which when reacting together, produce a lot of chlorine gas very quickly. Just some classic World War I, stuff that can still be effective if your enemy isn't ready for it. In May 2023, Morgan discussed his purported enemy with his girlfriend in text messages that stated if 20 government agents were coming for the weapons, he would defeat them without firing a single shot. Now, the FBI laboratory conducted tests and concluded the amount of chemicals that Morgan had could have resulted in serious, long-lasting health effects and impaired the ability to escape, or even possibly have caused death of these, hypothetical feds that were coming on. Now, this latest plea was not Morgan's first case involving the federal government. If at first you don't succeed, try again. I don't think they mean that in this situation, sir. In December 2024, he was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to possessing destructive devices. Now, this was filed in the Western District of Wisconsin. That case found that Morgan was not only working with chemical weapons, but that the device, such as a flamethrower, he also had a flamethrower and a device that could shoot sulfuric acid. Why? Now, Morgan is scheduled to be sentenced for the chemical weapon precursors on August the 1st. Godspeed being a prison girlfriend. I don't know if it's the same in federal prison, but Godspeed and don't drop the soap, young warrior. I don't know why. But there you go, Lord Chippy. Another Lord Chippy adjacent thing, but again, he's coming to see the light of justice soon. Well, if you are a true crime aficionado, you might be, a little bit familiar with the Casanova killer, case. He is set to be executed, fairly soon. So this is a little backstory, but this is going to be fairly, big in the media for the next couple days. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has filed a death warrant for convicted serial unaliver Glenn Rogers. Now, Glenn Rogers is famously known or infamously known as the Casanova Killer. Rogers was arrested in Waco, Kentucky on November 1995 and is suspected of several murders across the U.S. Well, I mean, he has an impressive, he has a man pelt. That is some chest hair to rival Robin Williams. That is some chest hair. Now, he was convicted of murdering two women in Florida and California. Rogers has claimed to be responsible for the 1994 murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, according to a 2012, documentary. Odo is like, it was him. And he was like, hell yeah. And Kato was like, what's going on? Los Angeles police said that they have looked into his connection to Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, but don't believe his thing about, taking them out. The death row inmate was convicted in 1997 after he was found guilty of the robbing and murder of Tina Marie Cribbs, and again in 1999 for the death of Sandra Gallagher. He is set to be executed at Florida State Prison in Railford during the week of May 15th. Yeah, I remember. So I remember hearing something, and I don't remember where, but apparently for Hook, Robin Williams was given like a razor because he was so hairy for the Peter Pan outfit. They didn't want him looking, well, like a hairy man, so they made him shave all of his body hair. Now, that's just what I've heard. I don't know if it's, an urban legend, but that's what I've heard. Apparently, he was a hairy man. That being said, well, it has all been foretolded in the ancient mysteries of time. Apparently, Pope Francis's successor has been revealed in an ancient prophecy plucked straight from the Vatican archives themselves. Well, I mean, if the Vatican already knew about it, you think they could have planned things effectively. Like, we wouldn't even have to have a conclave. It'd just be like, some guy done told us. Is the world going to end as we know it? The prophecy of the popes, a 900-year-old prescient manuscript, is believed by some to have predicted the next pontiff and the end of the world. Here's hoping. Again, I'm on the side of the meteor or the asteroid that won't. That being said, maybe humanity should continue. Now, Pope Francis passed away following a stroke on Monday, which led to a coma and ultimately, unfortunately, an irreversible cardiocirculatory collapse, the Vatican has said. A selection of church leaders will now vote to choose who is going to be next in command, but some claim to have already known who is going to be picked. The prophecy of the popes, a series of cryptic Latin phrases in the document that have been interpreted as describing the lineup of the church's leaders, starting with Celestine II in 1143 and ending with Peter the Roman in 2027. Michel de Nostradame, a French, astrologist and soothsayer from the 16th century, known as Nostradamus, has also predicted that Peter the Roman will take over. Well, then again, why are we even doing this smoke stuff? Where is this Roman dude? I am Sporadicus. I mean, Spartacle. I mean, I am Sparkles. Look, that sent believers into a fervor, noting that of the 9 frontrunners set to succeed Pope Francis, 3 of them are also named Peter, according to Reuters. Well, again, that's like Sister Mary Catherine. Again, every sister's name starts with Mary. Ask me how I know, Catholic school. So here we go. We're going to learn who this next person's going to be. Interesting. However, some have previously tried to connect Pope Francis to the prophecy of Peter the Roman due to his Italian heritage and his birth name, Giovanni de Pietro de Bondone. Look, that was probably a hate crime, but I'm from the Midwest and I don't do, well, pronunciation. Now, the next pope will be chosen by a conclave consisting of 120 cardinals out of 138 princes of the church who are under 80 and will gather in the Vatican to pick his replacement. The only time they have an age limit. Okie dokie. 4 daily ballots will be held until a successor is picked. After 30 ballots, the top 2 candidates will be the only ones allowed, and whoever gets a 2/3 majority will become the next pontiff. Now, voting will begin within 20 days of the Pope's death and can take as long as it's needed, but typically takes about a week. Unless you are voting from Maricopa County, then we are still going to be waiting on results. Maricopa County, Arizona, fix yourself. We shouldn't have to wait for you every election. Beyond the Pope pick, the earliest prediction pulled from the prophecy document claims that Judgment Day, the second coming of Christ, when all people, both living and dead, will learn their eternal fate, is near. I haven't heard that before. Tell me more. While several religions believe their own theory about the eventual ending, some Christians think their day is coming soon, since the prophecy of the Pope ends with Peter the Roman in 2027. Now, many faithful have interpreted this to be a sign of the end times, or that Vatican stopped paying for their astrologers. Saint Malachi is often credited with creating the prophecy of the popes, writing 112 short, mysterious phrases about the papal progression after he received a vision. Ayahuasca or peyote? A question to ask. Although many experts suggest that he wrote it in hopes of getting himself into the top position. What, someone writing mysterious prophecies to get themselves elected? Disinformation. According to the final entry surrounding Peter the Roman, the last pope to preside over the church during the time of great turmoil, culminating in the destruction of Rome and the end of the papacy. So it's not the end of the world, it's just going to be the end of the Catholic Church, which if you are the Catholic Church, it's the same diff. Now, the descriptions, let's see here. So this is what it says. In the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will reign Peter the Roman, who will feed his flock amid many tribulations, after which the seven-hilled city will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge the people. The end. Well, at least it said the end, so we know. I mean, according to the Book of Mormon, it's like to be continued. Now, the descriptions of the popes are very specific until the year 1590, conveniently the year it was discovered, and just decades after Nostradamus had made his claims. From then on, the phrasing becomes vaguer and more open to interpretation, which has led to speculation about whether the true author had had a vision or wanted to get himself elected. Now, some claim that the text was forged at some point and that later predictions are too ambiguous to tell if it really is the end times. I would just stock up on toilet paper. And thank you for the raid, Shizzy. Well, in things that are going to cause the rapture, and I'm warning y'all, but this is going to cause the rapture. Okay. This is when final form Jesus calls, and don't tell me I didn't warn you, but who the hell thought this up? Jesus has been resurrected, apropos since it's nearly Easter, as an influencer. And you can make video calls in real time thanks to AI. Virtual Jesus, virtual buddy Christ. Dear Lord, how did dogma become real life? How in the hell did dogma become real life? They put the AI in praise the Lord. Perhaps the Son of God wasn't content with just 12 followers. Just in time for Easter, Jesus has been resurrected 2,000 years later for the digital age. Y'all, I am wearing Crocs and I'm looking at the sky because I'm about to get struck by lightning. This is so sacrilegious. I don't even touch it. And I make fun and call myself a church. But even I'm like, this is a little bit bad. As an AI powered influencer, he's come back preaching both the gospel and product plugs. Y'all are going to get us raptured, and I'm going to be pissed off. Now, the free site is called AI Jesus Live, and it cuts out the religious middlemen by allowing users to have video confessionals in real time with their own faux Jesus. Quote, we want AI Jesus to feel like it's the real Jesus talking to you, described creators Ben Pokinghorn, Zach Bishop, and Chris Chapin. The Creative Boom Report. We fine tuned his personality and speaking style in a way we hope is authentic. Y'all, did we get that no flood thing stipulated? Because I'm gonna go get me some water waders. I am getting my life preserver because God is gonna flood the entire world. He's like, what the actual hell? Perhaps in one inauthentic, bit of, well, reality, the catch to this cybernetic second coming is that AI Jesus delivers product placements alongside his words of wisdom. Now, the team call it a satire on spiritual consumerism. When the Post asked AI Jesus whether the apocalypse was coming, he replied, quote, my child, the end times are a mystery known only to the Father. But to prepare for any eventuality, I suggest you require a reliable emergency radio. That's it. That's it. Everyone stock up on toilet paper. The second coming of the rapture is coming because, dear Lord, they're selling weather radios with AI Jesus. I give up. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, not all this advice is so super helpful. When asked how many beers one should drink on their birthday, the digital messiah said, my son, moderation is the key, even in celebration. Now, naturally, digitizing Jesus, especially as a product plugging virtual character, might seem just a scotch sacrilegious, especially, you know, but the creators insist it's not just some cheap gimmick. After initially starting the product placements as a joke, they eventually leaned into them after realizing it was revealing something profound. No, you're just morons and you think you're edgelords. Underneath the satire, there's a real issue to ponder about how we mix faith and consumerism, especially around occasions like Christmas and Easter. They wrote, these are deeply meaningful times for many peoples, but they're also peak shopping seasons. If AI Jesus gets someone to pause and reflect on that, then he has done his job. Well, I didn't remember God appointing you intellectual hall monitor or feelings monitor, but next time digital Jesus gives you a participation, a trophy in life, I'll listen to you. But until then, don't tell me how to religion. I won't tell you how to not religion. But you're not deep, you're not spiritual, you're not, confronting hard truths. You're grifting off of Jesus. Now, it's a personal choice. I just think that, again, you are tempting for Jesus to come down and punish us all when you're the douches that are doing this. And I will gladly point, Jesus be like, where'd they go? And I'd be like, right over there, Jesus. I got your back, way back, Jesus. So there you go. They have digitized Jesus because no, no, stop making Dogma a real movie or a real life. In our final story, Well, even chimpanzees need to take some time off. They require adult beverages too. These party animals, chimpanzees, caught on camera sharing alcoholic fruit. They're going to be so upset in the morning. What do you do with hungover chimpanzees? I don't think the hangover has ever answered that question. A team of British researchers studying chimpanzees in West Africa said that they have documented the primates eating and sharing alcoholic fruit. The University of Exeter team set cameras up at the Chantaze National Park in Guinea-Bissau, capturing the chimps sharing fermented African breadfruit that was later confirmed to contain ethanol. Now, the team's study suggests that chimpanzees could be using alcohol for a similar purpose as human. Look, they just, you always have that one annoying member in the troop that'll do the Macarena if you give them enough fermented fruit. For humans, we know that drinking alcohol leads to a release of dopamine and endorphins and result in feelings of happiness and relaxation. And we know that sharing alcohol, including through traditions such as feasting, helps form and strengthen social bonds. So we now surmise that maybe the wild chimpanzees are, getting similar benefits. So there you go. I guess chimpanzees enjoy a good adult beverage just as much as the rest. Well, thank you guys so much for joining my morning. I am going to send you guys off to the stream for the Karen Reed case. I will be hopping over there shortly. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me this morning. Remember to be kind to yourself, kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire because kindness doesn't equal doormat. Bye, my lovelies.